What's happening, everybody? We are live. We've got Mark here with the Vintage Drop Shop,
Hello,
the,
everybody.
the coolest whatnotter when it comes to Hot Wheels, in my opinion. And he knows how to ship them too.
I'll tell you what, that's a job. There's nothing like selling cars, but there's definitely an art to making sure everything's packed up, ready to go when they.
That's it. Man, I should have busted out a Mac hat too.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it or not. Did you see the picture of my son holding Ashley Force's trophy in? So my race shop used to be down at Gasoline Alley, so I literally was neighbors with John Force Racing, and we know John and we know Ashley, we know all the Forces. And when Ashley won the Nationals here in Indianapolis, inside the winner circle, Braden, my oldest, is holding the Wally, and I'm standing next to Braden, next to Ashley, right in front of her car, and we got a picture of it because a couple of my customers, a couple of my buddies work for John Force Racing, so we get back behind, and we get to go in the pits and get to hang out with everybody. And I used to work out at the gym in Brownsburg with John when he would come in town. He's just he's a funny old dude, man. He's a funny man. So
I was listening to the podcast on him on Donut Media over the weekend.
He was on Donut.
Yeah, they did a segment on him.
Dude,
on how he changed the funny car world. Yeah,
it's funny because everybody's heard the story and everybody listens to his story, but he said, I just wanted a boy. I needed just one boy because I needed my legacy to go down and go down in history. And he got nothing but girls. And he said from a very young age, when they were young, he goes, these are going to be the fastest girls in racing. And I mean, they have been. Brittany, Ashley, all three of them went. Well, I think Brittany's been 334 miles per hour. Ashley's been 320, and the youngest one's been, I think, just under 300. But if you're gonna have girls, they're gonna be fast. I can tell you this: my daughter's gonna be the fast one out of the family. She's the speed freak, absolute speed freak.
Mine's the same way. Every time we got rear-ended, not this weekend, last weekend, and the dude took off.
Oh.
Like, we were out getting his information and stuff, and he didn't have his insurance. He had a big envelope full of different registrations, and he jumped in his truck. And I was like, get in, let's go. And we hunted him down. And then after, we're like, are you okay? And she's in the back. She's 6, and she's like, I bumped my head a little, but it was fun. I went, wee. I was like,
oh my gosh, dude.
We got him.
That's how you know that's going to be the fast one of the family right there.
That's it, yeah.
You tracked him down?
Yeah.
So what was his excuse?
Well, we got him, so he went off the highway onto gravel. That was his mistake, because then there's a huge dust trail. So I just followed the trail.
Right.
And it's just a big horseshoe on that road. No dust came out the other side. There was one paved spot with like 8 houses.
Right.
And my wife was already on the phone with 911. So I met one of the sheriffs on the next road over, the only way out. And I told him, like, man, there's no dust cloud behind us. Nothing came out here. He's like, I'll go find them. And they did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did he have insurance? Probably didn't have insurance, did he?
I'm still waiting to hear back. I did claim it for uninsured, but I'm still waiting to hear. They haven't updated my phone app yet.
Man,
but they got him.
At least they got him.
Yeah, I was like, man, you picked the wrong guy. Like,
like, I will destroy my car now just to run you off the side of the road. And at this point, it's personal.
I will hunt you down.
That's right.
And you're gonna pay to get this fixed.
That's right. Or I'm gonna total your vehicle and it will not run after I'm done. That's what would have been my mentality. It's like, everybody all right? Get in, sit down, strap in, let's go.
it could have been, some little, 90s crappy car that he rear-ended. And he was in an excursion.
Oh.
It would just cream something like that with a kid in the back. Like,
oh yeah.
So if I don't try to catch the guy, it's gonna happen to somebody else. And what if they don't make it out? So yeah, we got him tracked down. I'm just waiting now. I don't know how long it'll take with the PD to tell me, hey, you got to come to court and all that garbage. But And he had warrants on top of that. So
he's
it all
in jail.
worked out.
Yeah, he's in jail.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why he probably had insurance at that point, maybe, but he was like, I ain't going to jail. So, well, he is now.
Yeah. Yep.
Well worth it. At least you put a criminal behind bars.
Yeah. About an 8-mile drive. As soon as we hit the gravel, and it was the first road that he took was gravel off the highway, maybe a mile down the road. I was like, that's it. I don't have to do anything now. Just follow.
Right. Yeah.
I just let him go flying. It didn't matter. It still found him.
That's fantastic, dude. Well, congratulations on the score on that. Sorry to hear about how bad your vehicle is. It bad?
I got to put a bumper on it. That's it. It's a 14 Silverado. It's
right.
It's all right.
All right. This is not a Rampage, right?
It would have wiped it out.
Rampage versus Excursion. You're like, that would have been it.
Yeah, the tailgate would have been in my back.
Right. Yeah, right.
Let's hit the chat and say hi to some people we got hopped in. We've got Mile High Hustlers. Let's go working, but going to watch on TV. Keep up the awesome work. You guys rock. We got my wife, a.k.a. Bread Co. in here.
Hello,
you ever need some awesome bread, some banana bread? That's where to get it right there. Should be doing a giveaway tomorrow if you want to come by in the middle of the day on her channel. And she's giving away 2 dozen loaves and then some cups with her name on them and some more bread.
I try to randomly stream when I'm in the car. So I was in the car industry for a very long time. I owned my own race shop for 25 years. I raced for Cooper. I mean, I've got a long backstory. So I raced for Cooper Tires for Formula D with Tanner Faust and Vaughn Gittin Jr. and, all the big names. I started with them. I was all over the United States drifting, having a great time. I mean, I lived the life of a rock star. I pulled a 48-foot triaxle trailer with my dually. I pulled a Nissan Skyline. I pulled an S14, 50 sets of tires, a golf cart, and we just went city to city drifting when drifting very first started. So second year out, we were basically the pioneers that were in the drifting industry at that point. And then I kind of got out of it when my son was 10. Because I got full custody of him. So that kind of changed my outlook on being all over the United States. So I got a chance to teach drifting for Cooper Tires and Ford Motorsports and did that for a couple of years. And, these kids would come out 40, 50 deep and they, Ford would show up with their trucks and bring a whole bunch of Mustangs and Cooper would show up with a whole bunch of tires. And we'd sit there and be like, all right, guys, so, 2 at a time, let's go out here. Let's see where you can go. These guys would get out and they'd get sideways and they realized that they could do donuts and they would just sit there and just boil the tires out. I'm like sitting in the passenger seat going, yeah, you're not okay. So let's take the car back and let's go change the tires. We take the car back, they jack it up, put 2 tires underneath, get in another car, and then you get like 3 or 4 kids because what people don't understand is what the art of drifting is. There's really an art to it. So your tires have to be grippy enough to still maintain grip, but you can't ever stop spinning your rear tires or you're disqualified. So your tires have to be boiled. And mind you, in a minute 30, a minute 20, minute 30, those tires are treads. They're gone. I mean, one set of tires from brand new to gone in a minute 30. So you have to find that fine balance. And when we started with Cooper, we were actually testing a whole bunch of tire compounds because trying to figure out how to have enough grip to keep control of the car going back and forth whenever you wanted to, but not enough grip that it would keep bogging the motor down because it was too grippy.
Right.
So, after a couple of years, they finally got the right formula for it. But, these kids would come out and you would have to know a tipping point for your car. And either you have that or you have to really learn it. The people that already have that, they know how far they can throw a car out and it won't go any farther than that. Oh my gosh. Did we just lose it?
I can hear you.
I'm back.
There you are.
Back. All right. A phone call come in.
You were going like this.
I'm like, no phone calls. Sorry. So, you have to know that fine balance of how far you can throw a car out because after you get past the tipping point, the car's, you can't bring it back from that. So you'd find a couple kids that would be, they'd be building cars in their garage with their dads and they've been doing it since they were 16 and they knew how far they could throw a car out. And those are the guys that, would go on to become some drifters in the scene and actually do something cool in the world. The rest of them were just out there to have fun and spend a bunch of their mom and dad's money to go out and waste all day and burn some tires off of a Mustang. So that's most of them that was the first fast car they'd ever been in. Oh, a Mustang V8, 5-speed, sweet. All right, let's go. I can just burn tires off. It'd be so much fun. Yay. You get back and you're like, you're not driving anymore. You just ruined. Sit down over there. So that was what I did with the majority of my life. So I mean, owning a speed shop. The cool thing about that is that I was always into cars, and I've been very blessed to have, I mean, some really awesome cars. I've had a ton of Toyota twin turbo Supras. I went 954 back in 01 in a 2JZ Supra with a turbo 400 transmission, and I had Reese Millen's tires off of his personal car on my car. I had Sad's transmission out of his race car. Came together, and I was testing for AEM's new standalone system, which now everybody's got the AEM system, but we were testing. We were on like box number 14, and the car with a stock motor, big turbo, big fuel system, made 945 horse and went 954 in the quarter mile. And this was back in 01 when, imports weren't really even in the 9s yet. They were still touching 10s.
Yeah.
And so I've been blessed to have that. I've had an R33 GTR, fully sponsored by BF Goodrich. It went to SEMA show. It was in numerous magazines, Super Street. I've been blessed to have all the cool JDM cars, and then all the cool 2.2 turbos, which is where you're from, the Dodge 2.2 world. I mean, I've had Omnis, I've had LeBarons, we've had, I don't know how many Dust. I mean, it's just, I've had so many of those. And, the first thing I would always do is yank the head, deck it, put a good head gasket on, put some head studs on it, put it back down, and then just go out and literally beat the balls off of it, because that's just what they love to do. Till we'd break it, throw that car away, and go find another one and do it all over again. So, you know what? I probably had, no joke. I mean, at one point, Muffler Larry, one of our guys that we used to go out and beat the crap out of our cars with, he had a Woods. And I raced him in like a 79 Lincoln 500 big block with like a full 100-pound tank of nitrous in the back seat, with the nitrous line ran to the carburetor, zip tied to it. And the guy in the passenger seat was dabbing it. And this car barely ran as it was. So we would go down and go through the woods, and then go around the trees, and then come back, and then go back to his house. And I'm in my little shadow, and he's in this freaking Lincoln. And we get going, and I hear the motor, woo, 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 woo. And you can hear it because my buddy is sitting there gassing the nitrous. And we get around the tree, and right as I'm crossing the finish line, he clips the rear end of me, and I go up on my lid, and I'm sliding through the finish line in this woods. And I'm like, all right. So we flip it over. He's got a forklift, or he's got a front end excavator, comes out, picks us up, drags his car back. I was like, it's all right. We broke an axle. We'll just go down the store. We'll get another one. We'll do it all over again. We'll cut the top off. And I'll never forget, he had one of the really big fireworks, like the big cannonball ones that drop it and go.
Yeah.
And I was sitting back, and I was getting ready to go get an axle, and he goes, I got a better idea. And he lights that thing, opens the door, throws it in, and shuts it. And everybody scatters, and it blows every single window out of the car. And then after that, we cut the entire top off, and it was a pure convertible car. And we would race it until it blew up, and then took it to the scrap yard and did it all over again.
Yep.
Fun cars, cheap.
Back when you could get them for like $50, $75.
Yeah. Sitting in the back, people's backyards, they're just asking you, please come tow this thing away. You're like, yeah, no problem. Does it run? Let me guess. Blown head gasket? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, great. Sure. Yeah, we'll take care of it. Those are the days. Those are long gone. I remember when I first started my speed shop, we did when I was in Toledo, there was a Japanese guy that was in our shop that did all of our graphics, and he was an exchange student from Japan. And every night, this is before drifting was anything in the United States, every night him and a guy named Hanhei would leave in their Mazda RX-7 second gen NA 5-speed gutted, 2 racing buckets. And Hanhei would always take his over the shoulder video camera with him every night when they would leave the shop. And finally one night I said, what are you guys doing? They're like, oh, we go drifting on the cloverleaf. And I'm like, you're doing what? He's like, drifting and in the cloverleaf. I'm like, you're drifting in the cloverleaf. I was like, okay, show me tonight. I'm going to go with you. So I drive with them, and they were building this new section of the interstate, and you couldn't like it wasn't open yet, but it was paved, and it was the ramp up and the ramp down and the ramp over and the ramp back up. So it was the 4 up and down on both sides of the road. And he was literally going out full speed, 100 some miles per hour, and yanking this parking brake and sending it sideways and drifting up and down the on-ramps. And I'm in the passenger seat with my balls out the back of my butt going, what are we doing? I'm holding on for dear life. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, this is called drifting. And that's when Best Motoring, I started watching the Best Motoring VHS tapes from Japan, because he said, listen, drifting is huge in Japan, and it's coming to the United States. So you need to be ready, because it's going to be huge. And I was like, okay, sure. Drifting. That's what you call it. Okay. So, and then I started getting into reading about what's the best drift car. 240SX. Equally, it's a 50-50 well-balanced car. It's rear-wheel drive. As long as you can put a limited slip diff in the back and you got a 5-speed with a parking brake, you can go drifting. So I started just picking up as many as I could, and I probably did, and this is no joke, over my shop's history, I bet we did 1,500 full swaps at least. I mean, we were the most known SR20 shop in the United States for years. But we could find these cars in people's backyards for $500. I mean, literally, we could drive down the road and be like, S13 hatchback. It's been sitting there for 2 years. I bet they'll just give it away. Pull up to the house, be like, what's up with that car? Oh, it's my son's car, and there's mice living inside. Cool. How much you want for it? Well, $50. Cool. We'll come get it. Trailer it out. I would take it. And this is when I could order a full front clip from Japan. I could get all the body panels. I could get the front mount intercooler. I could get the blow off valve. I could get the wastegate. I could get the strut tower bars. I could get the big brake kits. They would send the rear diff, the rear brakes, the rear suspension, the full exhaust, the seats. So all the body panels and everything minus the actual shell of the car would come on a pallet, fully saran wrapped, and I could get that for $1,800 shipped to my door. And now you can't even get a red top motor and trans that's been run through the hills for less than $2,000, because back then Japan had a law 3 years or 30,000 miles. Anything more than that, your taxes start going up each year to put license plates on a car. Right. So Japan would push all these people out of their cars, and they'd sit in junkyards. They've since abolished that whole rule, and the 276 horsepower max horsepower rule, that's all been thrown out the window. But once that started to get abolished and people started realizing they could start yanking the prices, I mean, we did that. We probably got those front clips for, I don't know. We probably got them for a solid 3 or 4 years, and then the prices started going up. Then we would get clips with no body panels or no seats, or the suspension wouldn't be there, or the big brakes were taken off. And it's like, all right. So then steadily it came down to we were just getting motors and trannies and ECUs, and that was it for $1,800, $2,000. Dang. So as everybody started in the Honda world. I mean, everybody starts in the Honda world. And then we went to the DSM world. We went into Eagle Talons, and then we skipped the Evo world, because after the Eagle Talon world, I'm like, I'm done with Mitsubishi and Diamond Star crap. I mean, they're fast once, and then they blow a transmission, and then you repair it, and then they're fast again, and then it's a repetitive world. And so from there, basically just stuck with Nissan, because I've always been a Nissan person. And I came from the V8 world. I mean, I had a 404 horsepower Lingenfelder powered Trans Am, 94 Trans Am, and I got a ticket doing 155 and a 55. And I got arrested, and car got impounded. And my insurance company said, either you get something that's 4-cylinder or we drop you. And that's what got me into the import world. Then I bought my very first Honda Civic, which was a 94 red 5-speed. And in the back of a magazine, one of the tuner magazines, it was an advertisement to double your horsepower with a new bolt-on turbo kit. And I thought, well, that's how we're going to make 200 horse. Here we go. Okay. I ordered that first turbo kit, and it's been chaos ever since then. And I've been blessed with Supras, Skylines. I mean, you name it.
One day I'll get to ride in one.
Yeah, I mean, before my '09 GTR, it made 700. I built a R32 for a guy out of New Jersey. I did an R34 motor to it. I built a single turbo manifold, Gretty 4-row, twin disc H-gas clutch, big fuel system, sheet metal intake manifold, big 110 millimeter throttle body, and it made 740 to the wheels, and it was all black with black TE37s, yellow calipers. It was a pretty neat car. But then I'd had a bunch of mechanical Skylines, meaning the R32, 33, and 34s, which I've never owned a 34 yet. And the pricing the way it is now, I might not own one of those at $100,000. I mean, you could still go to Japan and get them for $20,000. It's just trying to get them over here. That's the evil part. But then I jumped into the '09, and the '09s are fast, but it's not mechanical. Anybody can do this. That's how they're fast.
Yeah.
Pedal up, pedal down. So I don't know. It didn't give me the same enjoyment that the old mechanical being able to shift. So I don't know. I guess I still like to shift gears if I can.
Right.
It's half the fun.
We're gonna catch up on the chat. We got Susan. Susan loves NASCAR and cats, and my camera just went all crazy for a second. And squirrels. What's up, Robert? Got Resell Daddy in the house. And his wife. I think they're both running, or maybe he's running both. Maybe she's busy. Who knows? There we go. Love my new hat. Thank you guys so much. It means a lot, man. My card from the kids was the best, though. Tell them I said thanks. After it's over, I'll leave the StreamYard up and I'll have them come in and read it. That'd be pretty cool for them. Susan's happy I shaved my face today, but she wants to know who you are. That's Mark with Vintage Drop Shop.
Yeah, usually I try to keep the hair off my face because now it's all white.
That's right. Mine started doing that, but I was like, you know what? I'm just going to leave it for a while and be lazy. And then I was like, nope, today I'm getting it done. We got Funk in Connecticut. What's up, man? Shay, MD Picker.
What's up, MD Picker?
There's my buddy Beck, John Beck. What's happening? Dave is from across the pond.
Hey, Dave.
What's going on, Dave? Hope all's good over there, man. Hope everybody's staying safe. So, tell them about the website, dude. I know the GTR is on the website, and that's like, bam, the first thing I see. But you got all kinds of stuff going on there.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because my wife loves vintage stuff, and she's always been like a secret picker, and I've always been, buy and sell guy. In between my speed shop, I owned a barn business where we went out and tore down old antique barns and sold the barn wood to a couple different woodworkers here around town, and that really re-sparked the interest of, when you're tearing down old barns, they're giving it to you for free, and they're like, anything in there you can have, and you're like, really cool. So you take the metal detector out there, and you're finding like guns in the ground, and you're finding all kinds of cool crap. So that then restarts the whole. All right, well now I'm gonna still go to all these antique stores and still try to find the score. And being that I was in Hot Wheels for so long, I knew what Hot Wheels to look for in any environment that were worth money. So my specialty was always variations. I knew, like this car. I mean, I showed a bunch of people this car, and now there's been numerous people that actually have found the variation on this. And I know it's hard to see and you can't see it right now, but there's a little antenna, a rectangle right here on the rear B pillar.
Here, I'll pop it up for you. Bam.
So the unfortunate side, since it's black, you can't see it. But anyway, right here, there's a rectangle.
Yep.
So, but on the variation, there's a rectangle and there's a line up like this, and it's called the antenna up variation. So that's a $20, $30 car by itself, but when it has the antenna up, it's a $350 car now because of how rare that variation is. So, when you're in a store and you see something like that and you can see a quick variation and you go in your head, you go, okay, that's definitely worth the $3 they want. I mean, that's a quick flip. That's a good resale.
Yeah.
So, Mike Zarnoch is one of the biggest names in Hot Wheels, and he's actually had his own drag car. Let's see, and I don't even have it in front of me, but he's had his own drag car, and he's done the variation books because he's into variations and airs and stuff like that. So, you know, you might see the same car 100 times and never think, well, that car, if it had a different set of wheels on it, is worth 10 times the amount, if not. And so, you know, over the years, you start to get your craft and you start to sharpen it and realize, okay, when you're out and about, you look for things like that, like a green Jaguar 99 first edition. If it has a white interior, it's a $50 car. If it has a black interior, it's worth $1. You know, so I mean, you see the same car 1,000 times when you're out. It's just, they're in every antique store, every thrift place you can go. But then you see that one time when you look at it and you go, something doesn't look right. And then you remember, oh, that's a variation. That's the white interior. That's the one that's worth money. So, you know, in our store, we got into vintage clothing, single stitch, concert shirts, like this stuff up here, that Honda shirt and that old Thrasher shirt. You know, it's the thrill of finding a shirt amongst a pile of crap.
Yep.
And know that's something cool. So like my son, this is so ridiculous. I have a Burton snow jacket that I've worn my entire life. I have a picture of me and my dad skiing when I was 16 and I was wearing it. Right. So it's a brown jacket. And then underneath it's a fleece multi, like black, red, orange. And I still wear it for winter. Every time winter comes around, I throw it on. I'm like, all right, cool. I get to wear my Burton jacket. And my son was like, dude, where'd you get that vintage jacket at, bro? That thing is so dope. And I went, oh crap. I'm now wearing vintage clothing that these young kids think are so cool. I'm like,
that you grew up with.
Yeah, and I'm like, I didn't buy it. I still wear it. It's not even vintage to me. It's just another jacket that I still have in my closet. And I go,
I know.
Oh shoot, we've reached that age where these new, you know, young kids are like, oh, anything 90s, bro. Anything 90s is awesome. It's vintage, and I'm like, I still wear all my crap from the 90s. Does it make me cool because I'm still wearing it?
I have a bunch, but I'm way too big for that now. Kim, what's happening? How are you doing? Kim does Whatnot also, Adopted Retrospects. She does video games and vinyl and all kinds of stuff, and YouTube as well.
I just got a bunch of vinyl records. Actually, I just picked up a whole bunch of vinyl records. Either somebody died or I don't know what. She was at one of the stores and she's like, this record looks really clean. And I went, what is that? It's an Elton John. Oh my gosh, it's the Beatles. Oh my gosh, it's David Bowie. And I'm like, you need to buy all those. And we found some of them, which I've done a lot of learning in the last 24 hours on first pressings, second pressings, you know, whether the jacket is in good shape. I mean, I had no idea. I'm just like, it's a record. If it's not scratched, it's got to be worth something. But
it's vinyl. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The record not pop through the back of the sleeve. We're doing good. That's
yeah. And I was a DJ in the rave scene when the rave was, you know, illegal. So I have all my old wax, and they're all first pressings because they were brand new to the market when I bought them all. And I pulled them out the other night and I looked at them and I went, I have a lot of first pressing stuff. And I'm like, but I'm never going to sell it because, I mean, those are memories for me. I still have my record bags I used to carry around with me, and I had 2 Tech 12s and a DJ M600 that I used to spin with. And I'm 45 years old now. I look back and I'm going, yeah, those were times when, you know, I had no cares, no kids and nothing like that. But at least I still have the records. I mean, they're not cool like these James Bond records and stuff that I found. I found a John Denver first pressing record. I mean, it looks like it's never been out of the jacket. And I'm like, how many people even remember John Denver that's not my age? Probably not many. Because I've also realized that Whatnot is a very young atmosphere.
Right. Yeah.
Because, I mean, my one kid that's on there, Seb, he's 13. I mean, him and a 51-year-old, a Mexican guy that's Caesar, him and Seb fought for a car one night. I'm like, 13 versus 51, 13 versus, I'm like, what is happening? What is happening here? You know, I forget now that I'm the old collector, and these new guys, the reason why all my stuff is so cool to them is because they've never seen it. But it's just stuff that I've had sitting in my warehouse for years that, you know, I kind of got out of collecting for 4 or 5 years. I was still buying along as I was going, but I wasn't. When I got into the dealership world, I wasn't buying as much as what I used to. I mean, I used to buy massive collections, sort through them, sell what I wanted, then dish the rest off. But I still have totes and totes of stuff that I had bought from collections that were just sitting back there. And one day I started pulling them out and people were going crazy over it. I'm like, you guys really want to buy this? This is crazy. It's been sitting in a tote for 7 years. I stare at it for 7 years going, nobody's gonna ever want this. And then I get on Whatnot. People are like, that's what we want. And I'm like,
I know.
Okay. So Whatnot is a very good secondary revenue source. I mean, it really is. Even for like shirts, I watch a vinyl guy. I've watched him a couple times. He spins records while he sells records. And I'm like, I like that. I like that setup. Hot Wheels. I mean, it doesn't matter. These guys will buy anything. And the problem is Whatnot needs to get bigger, obviously. It's not Instagram. It's
more
not
categories
YouTube.
And
because
I got a bunch of stuff I think would do good on there, but there's like no categories for it yet. So I'm just doing eBay instead.
I was just brought into the Discord channel, which I'm still learning the world of Discord. But I was brought in today by, I think, Gary, and they wanted to talk about 3 new categories, Disney, a diecast category, and something else. And I've got a meeting with him on Friday to talk about expanding the diecast world, because for DC United, he's Kevin out of Georgia, he does vintage card rips, and that's kind of why I got into the vintage card world. I mean, I'm back into my ball cards, but I'm very now heavy back into the vintage world. And he said, you need to get a hold of Whatnot, because your Hot Wheel collection, your Hot Wheels knowledge that you have is far surpasses anybody I've ever seen. And I went, okay, well, I just have a lot of knowledge in my head about it. I never think of it that way. Well, they reached out and said, would you be interested in doing something with us to promote it? And I'm like, yeah. So, I mean, talking with them and doing like a big giveaway. And so I got some really cool customs here that are going to be in an upcoming giveaway from a very high-end designer. That's a handmade Porsche.
Wow.
And that's one of like, I think I've got 20 now that he sent up, all hand painted, turbo kit, all 3D printed wheels, full paint. I mean, I've got a lot of them. And so, and then I sell, these are bags of wheels for all the customizers that I've had. I mean, I've ripped so many cars apart back when I was doing like customs and stuff, and then I put them in my totes and I forgot about them. And all the wheels now for doing all these customs are all 3D printed. So nobody has access to the old Real Riders, like the 84 Real Riders. I ripped so many of those things apart for those stupid white wheels back in the day, because back in the day they were just $1, $2 cars.
I'm looking at them.
yeah, exactly. So imagine having 30 of those things ripped apart, and now you're sitting there going, oh my gosh, what have I done? So much money I've ripped apart. But I have the wheels sitting over here in a tote. I'm like, but I got wheels, and these guys are like, well, I want to buy these wheels. I'm like, all right. Yeah. I'll sell you wheel packs, So
some people would rather have the original wheel than a 3D printed one, just for the fact of, how it is. It's original. So yeah.
That's exactly right. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's crazy to see what we sell. I mean, like we hit just as dumb as that is, the Simpson Cup.
Yep.
Burger King cups. I would have never looked at that thing twice 2 years ago. I would be like, Simpson Cup. Now I'll grab them and buy them every single time. I bought this the other day. It dispenses M&Ms each time you chink, an M&M comes out.
Right. How about this?
Dude, Duncan Yo-Yo. Yes.
Yep. 94. Yep. The real deal.
I graduated in 94. That's an awesome year.
Johnny, what's going on? Glad you could make it and hang out for a bit tonight. Johnny does live auctions a couple times a week, or every Wednesday and then every other Friday. And he has a morning show every morning. Really cool guy. He's the guy that got me started do YouTube. That was my first interview.
Very cool. Yeah, I try to. It's pretty addicting to be on here on a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday on Whatnot. But after you start selling the amount of volume that I've been selling these Hot Wheels, it's the packing that kills you. So I did a Hot Wheels show on Friday. We did a T-shirt sale on Saturday, and we did ball cards on Sunday. And then I was packing Sunday afternoon that day. And I remember I packed all the way up till like 1 o'clock in the morning. I had to be up at 6 o'clock to get to work in the morning. I'm like,
yep.
I'm not doing this anymore. So now I'll do one show on a weekend and that's it. Or I'll do like a shock drop during the middle of the week, just give something away. That's become pretty successful for us. I mean, we watch people pop in from the T-shirt world, baseball card world, cars world. It's kind of cool too, because when you sell multiple things, you really get an inclination of, well, there's very different people in the vintage T-shirt world compared to the Hot Wheels world. And in the baseball card world, they're their own breed. So when all three are in your room asking something, you're like, I mean, I remember one time they were like, cards? I'm like, what? No, wait, we're doing something giveaway. How many shirts are giving away? Do we have cars here today? I'm like, wow, that's a lot of questions coming at me at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
and they're all different too, because it's all a different group. Yeah.
So I told him, I was like, I'll do a giveaway of one of each. Or I'll say that whatever giveaway is, if you want cars, I'll give you cars. If you want cards, I'll give you cards. If you want T-shirts, I'll give you T-shirts.
Yeah.
So
because I know you'll do like an import night, or let's say a BMW night or whatever. So like with the games, when I do those, I blew out almost all the GameCube I had, but I would have a few for every console, or for most of the common consoles, good stuff.
Yeah.
And same thing. It, like you said, cards and Hot Wheels and shirts, but it's all video games. Is there GameCube? You have Xbox, original Xbox, PS1, you have horror games, the same kind of thing where there's all these questions. I'm like, all right, if I try to, you know how it is, you're watching the chat and you're like, hey, that was the first one. I'll get to you here in a minute. Then you try to catch up, and it can get insane. I've never got to stay like start to finish on one of your auctions, but roughly how many do you move in one auction? How many go out the door?
Well, the last auction we did 132 auctions, but some of the auctions had 2-3 cars in it. And we did $1,730 in the last car auction. That was for 4 hours. And then, and when I did the T-shirts, we did the T-shirts for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and we did like $550 on it. But we had 75, 80 people in the room during T-shirts that day.
Yeah.
And in Hot Wheels, the most I've had that stuck with me was that giveaway night, and I had 63 people, which, I mean, in the diecast world, that's pretty cool, because there's probably 100 regular people that are ever in the diecast world that float through there. So, I mean, to have 60 out of the 100, that's pretty cool. And as it grows, you'll have more people that will learn about diecast cars. But I just looked the other night, there was only 4 diecast auctions coming up in this week. And so that's probably why Whatnot reached out. They're like, we need to figure some way to boost this category. And I mean, I'll put my 2 cents in to try to help out. But if the regular people aren't doing regular auctions, then these new guys do these short, small auctions, and then diecast people go other places to buy diecast.
Yeah.
Because if there's nothing to offer, you got to keep the attention of the people. So baseball cards keeps the attention of all baseball card people. I mean, that baseball cards are live 24/7. That's their bread and butters, cards.
Right.
So everything else is just, trickling down. They're trying to make it work. So, I hope diecast takes off. I hope they do put a lot more categories in. I think that would be really good for the stream itself, like, actual vinyl category. And even like cassette tapes and VHS tapes, stuff that, people are now, dude, I'm
right
there,
dude.
Do you watch it? Do you watch Froggy Flips at all on YouTube?
Yeah. How about this? Right.
Mortal Kombat. Is that a laser disc?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. I've got my laser disc too hidden away somewhere. But Froggy Flips is here from Indiana, and so he goes out with a chest cam, and then there's the Cincinnati picker or whatever. But the Froggy Flips dude, he's local, So,
Your name. I've got a sticker sitting here somewhere. I want a giveaway on this channel. Where did it go? It's here. I know it's here. But I've got, yeah, right there. Well, here's his card anyway. Right?
yeah, he's a cool cat.
Yeah.
And he's really had to expand his horizons, because in the beginning he was pretty much focusing on just, certain toys, and he was letting a lot of stuff pass. And now over the years, there's been a lot of people that have gotten a hold of him and said, hey man, you're really leaving a lot on the table. So he went from working his job to now he does this full time, and he just garage sale hops, and man, he gets some really good scores. But he knows a little bit about everything now, which is what you have to do when you're just trying to be a flipper and reseller, because everybody now, 14-year-old kids think that they're vintage, oh yeah, I'm in the vintage world now. I flip. I was like, what do you, dude, you weren't even born when this stuff was out. Like the California raisins. Who are they? Well, I don't know. What do you mean California raisins? The purple raisins. What do you mean California raisins? What about,
Yep.
Spuds McKenzie? Who's that? Man, you don't know anything about vintage. Sit down. Settle down there.
I've got some raisins here somewhere.
Those things were awesome, man. I love those California raisins. If I ever see those, I always pick them up. That or old M&M stuff, or that Spuds McKenzie. That was always good. And what really does good right now is old rap shirts. I know that sounds crazy, but like vintage rap shirts. Yeah. Just big money in those shirts. And I mean, even like destroyed rap shirts, people will pay hundreds of bucks for.
Oh yeah.
It just blows my mind on a daily basis when I see some stuff sell that I go, I don't understand why. And I probably had that and I've destroyed it 3 times. Like old glass jars. My buddy just schooled me in the old ball glass jars. Like if you can get the glass jars that are colored, I mean, there's some jars out there that are $1 million jars. A glass jar that my great grandma in her basement used to can stuff in, and then we used to take it out with a BB gun and blow up.
Yep, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Up. Yeah, I remember blowing up purple ones and blue ones because I thought it was cool when the colors broke. And I sit there and go, I have no idea how much those things were worth. Of course, you never know that, but now these things are worth stupid money. When you put them underneath the black light, they glow. Same thing with marbles. I got into marbles too. I got a pretty massive marble collection because like my great grandma and my grandma died. And when they died, I got all their marbles. A marble looks like a marble until you start finding somebody that knows a lot more about marbles than you do. And then you attach yourself to them and you learn everything you can. And you find out there's $1 million marbles out there that are in every antique store that you could just literally pick up a jar and go, oh, that's a snake eye. And that's probably from 1920. Or the ones that have like the uranium in it. When you put it in the black light, they glow. I mean, and you're like, that one marble could be a life changer. I mean, you find $1 million marble and guess what? You retire. You move wherever you want to move, put some money in the bank, and then you work for fun for the rest of your life.
My grandma gave me all the marbles they had laying around. I know exactly, I'd say within a few feet of exactly where I buried those at the elementary school when I was a kid. And that's like 1,500 miles away from here. I buried them at recess and went back at lunch, and they were playing soccer and kids were sitting where I had left them. So I just left them there. I never did go find them. I know, right? Can't find
you
those.
You can have a retirement fund. Yeah, dude.
I know. Hey, right, my time capsule. I know where it's at.
So in the Hot Wheel world, the red lines, which are the old 60s Hot Wheels.
Yep.
If you had pinks, browns, and golds, now those are the ones that are worth all the money. Because back in the day, kids didn't want a pink car, they didn't want a brown car, they didn't want a gold car. They wanted blue, red, green, yellow, the bright, vibrant colors. So to find the old castings that are the good castings in those colors, that's what depicts on like very valuable Hot Wheels. So I know a guy that dug out Hot Wheels that was out in the sandbox for 40 years, and they had a pink Beach Bomb bus, and they still sold it for thousands of bucks. And then there's a guy that's in the Hot Wheel community, and his dad restores hot rods, and his dad had just restored a 70 AAR Cuda and was taking it out to Barrett Jackson out in Phoenix. And he had always told his dad, if you ever see any Hot Wheel boxes, any place that you stop at on your ventures to and from the West Coast, buy them. Doesn't matter what it is. If you think it's old, buy them, and then we'll look at it when you get home. So he was in New Mexico. His dad was. Pulled in the gas station to get gas. Went in the gas station. It had dirt floor. The service station, which was attached to the gas station, was closed. The old man behind the countertop was the original owner, right? Dirt floors. And he goes in to pay, and he looks up on the shelf, and he notices a case of Hot Wheels on the top shelf covered in like 4 inches of dirt. And he said, "What's up with that box of Hot Wheels up there?" And that guy said, "Man, I've been up there 40 years. You get them things, Dad, you can have for $10. And the dad climbed up, got the box, dusted it off, paid the man $10, took it out to his truck, called his son, said, "Hey, man, I got a box of Hot Wheels. I don't have time to show you, but we'll go through them when we get home."
Oh.
Kid was like, "Okay." So he sold the Barracuda for $72,500, right? Came back home, gave the box to his kid, and him and his dad sold the box for $75,000. It was an original box of the original 68, original 16, 2 cars each, never seen sunlight, so the paint hadn't been faded because it's got Spectraflame paint and it's a lead-based paint. So when sun hits it, it blotches up.
Yeah.
So the cards were unpunched. The cars were untouched. The tape was still on, and they sold it to this guy for $75,000. So he sold a box of $10 Hot Wheels for more than what he sold his CUDA for. Okay, so the lesson is that they're still out there. So now here's the deal: the guy who bought it did a live opening on it, and there was $150,000 worth of cars inside. Never seen daylight. So I mean, that $10, for somebody that it just lives paycheck to paycheck, that's a game changer. That's winning the lottery, because those kind of things, they're still out there. There's still boxes of unopened Hot Wheels. I mean, there's a lady named Anna, and she's huge in the Hot Wheel community, and she found, I mean, I can't even tell you how many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of carded Hot Wheels this guy had, and she bought him out, and she's been selling these red lines for, well, it's been the last, I don't know, 10 years, and she's still selling them, and she's made millions. I mean, millions, because 68 through 75 and a half is when they made red lines. Yeah. So the original 16 were made in 68, and so she had like, I don't know, I think she had over 1,000 of the original 68s in the package. This guy just had hoarded them, never opened them up, threw them in totes, put them in their attic, and forgot completely about them until he died. And then the family found her. They found her somehow, some way through the grapevine. She went to the house and opened up all these totes, and they were just fully loaded, full of red lines. And that's like a deal. So I got a store display, and it's a box about yay big, and it had the first original. Bless you.
Thank you.
And it had the first original. And
I hope that's it.
And I had the first original 16 Hot Wheels ever produced in 1968. And Mattel would make these displays, and they were all sitting, and then there's a second shelf, and there was one in the middle. So they would make these displays, and they would take them to toy stores across the United States and put them on their countertops and say, "Can we have this here? This is our new line of toys we have coming out." Of course, all the toy owners said yes. And then so 68 would go by, and then 69 would happen. And so Mattel would send reps out and take the 68 displays away and put the 69 displays in place of it.
Right.
So people weren't supposed to get these displays. That's my whole point. So the original 68 display had a watermelon Mustang. Okay. You could only get this color for this Mustang in the store display. It's the only way to get it. It's the only way to get it. And let me go grab it real quick. So I had a picker that used to always pick stuff for me, and he would find me these trucks for like $20, $30, no big deal. But my auction house actually has a watermelon Mustang.
Wow.
And in perfect shape, that's a $15,000 car. This will never come in a card. It will never be on a card. It was never produced on a card. Now, this one doesn't have a hood, so it takes down the value, but the fact that that is a watermelon, not a pink, but a watermelon, That's still a couple $1,000 car. And this was found in a 99-cent grab bag at your local Goodwill.
Wow.
So my store display story is I was at the Hot Wheels Nationals a week prior. And it's a hotel. They rent a hotel and every room has Hot Wheels in it. Everybody rents a room. They put their displays out and everybody sells Hot Wheels. It's an entire, every year, 2 times a year, it's a hotel full of people selling Hot Wheels. It's mind blowing. I mean, it's crazy. If you love Hot Wheels, you are in Hot Wheel heaven. So I'm in my buddy's room and I pull a 68 display he had, and it was number 13 known in existence. So he had the 13th and it was in immaculate shape. And I was like, man, dude, this is, I've never held one of these yet. I said, how much you want for it? He goes, $28,000. I went, okay, let me set that back down. Let me push that back and let me just make sure I don't knock it over. And I'm going to walk away from it because that's an Ultima. That's a car.
Yeah.
Okay. So a week goes by and I'm literally coming back from Columbus, Ohio with the trailer, 28-foot trailer full of Hot Wheels packed. I just bought a massive collection. And my picker calls me and says, hey, man, I got some stuff for you. And he sends me some pictures and some, trucks, this and that. He goes, would you be interested in a store display? And I went, wait a minute. What do you mean store display? And he sends me a picture and it's that same store display. And I went, oh, hold on. And so I pulled over and I really looked at it and I said, what's the story on it? He said, so old guy's had it in a tote in his attic for years. He goes, the top part of the acrylic is broken, so you can stick your hand in it. He goes, but I don't think it's ever seen sunlight. And I went, okay, how much you need for it? He's like, $1,000. I went, okay. So I literally turned my truck and trailer around, still full of Hot Wheels, and went to the other side of Indianapolis and met him, paid him $1,000 for it. I get it home. I don't even unpack my trailer. I get it out, and there sits the original 16 Hot Wheels that I had in my hand a week prior to that. And the acrylic has got a hole in the top of it. So I can literally reach in and open the hoods of all the cars. And the brown Camaro actually had a brown painted motor, which was an error because that motor was always supposed to have the hood down when they shot the car. But if the hood was up, it made the motor brown, which made it even rare. And the Continental had a white interior, which is dumb rare. And these cars look like they had just come out of the package. So I'm like, okay, we got something here. And this is right when I just had met my wife. And I'm like, listen, I know you don't understand this, but these cars are worth a lot of money. And she was like, yeah. When I first met her, she goes, what do you do for a living? I said, I sell cars. Yeah. And she was like, oh, what kind? Dodge, Ford? I was like, Chevys, Dodges, Fords, Maseratis, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Porsches. Whatever we have then and there, because I didn't want to tell her. I was like, I sell toy cars. She goes, well, so, and then a couple of days later, I'm like, yeah, I sell Hot Wheels for a living. Does that bother you at all? She's like the toy cars. I'm like, yeah, but I sell a lot of them at a time. And she was like, oh, okay. Yeah. So when she first saw my collection, I had 175,000 cars in my house. And She was like, what? And what? Every closet has Hot Wheels in it. I said, this is not your typical Hot Wheel collection. This is a business. And so when I bring this display home, and I showed her pictures a week before, and she goes, that's the same one. I said, that is the same one. So I kept it and I showed it off. It's actually on my Instagram if you want to see what it looks like, my my regular page. But then I took it to the next Nationals, and I had Bruce Pascal, which is one of the highest named people in the Hot Wheel world. He has one of the only 2 pink rear-loading Beach Bomb buses ever produced. And I took it to show him, and he was like, so I heard you've got a store display. And I'm like, yeah, the grapevine is correct. I do. And he's like, whip it out. And I had it in a cooler. I was carrying this cooler around with me in this hotel. And opened it up, undo the blanket, and he was like, son of a bitch, look at that. He goes, those cars are mint. I said, I know. Now the acrylic's broken, but they haven't seen sunlight. And the top car on the pedestal had popped off of the paper. So behind the paper, it was number 4814. So there was at least 4,814 displays out in the United States. And mine was number 14th to be found in existence together.
Wow.
So I have the last one. There hasn't been any more since mine. But so I got it appraised, and Bruce said, I wouldn't take anything less than $13,000 for it in the condition with the top being broken on it, because it's not mint and the box was a little rough. And I'm like, all right. So I was approached by a guy from Nebraska, and it's out of the blue. My phone rings, and I answer, and he's like, is this Mark? And I said, yeah. He goes, my name's such and such, and I live in Nebraska, and I've caught wind that you have a 1968 store display. And I'm like, am I unpunked? Is Ashton Kutcher going to pop out somewhere? Am I unpunked? Am I on a TV show? How do you know I have this? And by that time in the diecast community, it was all over. The 14th store display had been found, and he tracked me down through random web pages and heard from another guy and from another guy, blah, 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 whatever. So he had owned all of the store displays at one time. His 68 store display was number 10, and he had sold them all in one lot and wanted to buy them back and start building the entire collection again. And mine was the first one to buy. And he said, I'll give you $12,500 cash for it, but you have to hand deliver it to me. And I went, honey, we're going on a road trip. I know you've only known me for so long, but we're gonna break in a road trip together. And we literally rented a freaking car and drove to Nebraska, and I pulled in his parking lot, and I'm just like, man, what is this guy gonna look like? Man, what's it gonna look like? Pulls in an 06 bright orange Dodge Challenger with cut off. Have you ever seen what Donnie Baker? Do you know who Donnie Baker is on Q95? Hey man, I'm Donnie Baker, man. This cut off shirt, mullet, blonde, beer in his hand, pulls in this orange General Lee colored 06 Dodge Charger, V6, chrome craggers, whips in. He's like, you must be Mark. And I was like, you look exactly like I thought you were going to look like. I haven't envisioned you. I'm like, to a T. Dude, you are an identical. You are America. You are 100% like I thought you were going to look. I'm like, thank God you look like I thought you were going to look. And he's like, yeah, man, and this dude had so much money. He didn't know what to do with. I don't know if he got a settlement. I don't know what, but he laid out $100 bills. And he said, thank you. If you ever come across any more, I'll be your buyer. And I was like,
wow.
Probably not ever going to happen to do this again. But thanks. I appreciate that. And we drove home. And that's my first road trip with my wife. That was the first story of her really realizing that there's some real money in these Hot Wheels if you can find the right ones. So,
yeah. I've had some error cards and stuff. I know I had a couple. I sold them. I don't remember what they went for. Not too long ago. The memory's not very good, but they were Bugattis, Veyrons, and Honda Civic cards.
Oh,
I had a pair of them.
Nice.
And then I got them all in the same case.
Yeah.
And I bought them at Walmart because I had the book and I would go and I would, almost pre-internet, and I'd sit in the parking lot and read them. Like, all right, got to go in before I forget. And I would go in and, hey, can I open the cases? And I'd go and open them, and if you let me open them, I'll put them away for you. And that was my way to get in. Now the Walmart that we have here, we only have one within like 120 miles.
Yeah.
And nothing. The shelves are empty.
Yeah. I was in Target today, just randomly on my lunch break. I stopped in so I could get a coffee, and I thought, and I usually don't even look at the new Hot Wheels anymore because I used to be a distributor. I was a Mattel rep. I was a Mattel distributor. I used to get all the brand new stuff at my doorstep months before everybody else, and I stopped doing that. And I'm like, yeah, it's cool. I look every once in a while. I found the Golf Porsche 356 Super Treasure Hunt. It's the only Super I found last year, and that was at my local Kroger. And I walked in, it was right in the middle of a store display or a sidekick, and I went, I think that's a Super Treasure Hunt. I almost forgot what they looked like. Picked it up. I'm like, sure as crap it was. But I went to Target today, and I noticed they'd put some cars on the hook because there was no cars there the other day when I was in there. And there was probably one box full. And I looked at the guy, I said, you got any more of these? And he's like, nah, I don't have any more of those. And I looked down, and on his cart is a fresh case of Hot Wheels. And I went, guy, come on. And I walked down there. And I said, hey, man, what's up with that box? And he goes, there's no, I didn't even realize I had another box of Hot Wheels. He opens them up. He goes, here you go. I said, I hope you put them on the hook if I can go look. And he goes, yeah, man, go for it. Go take them down there. And I was like, sweet. And it's the purple van Super Treasure Hunt. And I'm digging through it. And I bought half the case just because they're new cars. And I don't have any of them, Like I still collect cars. I'm still a collector. I'm like some of these guys, which are on, whatnot. I won't say any names, but they're not collectors. They just are in it for the money. And that's okay if you're just in it for the money. But if you're still a true collector, these cars still mean something to you. I mean, when you find a car that brings back a memory, that's cool. But to the people that are like, I just do this for the money. It's just about top dollar. I'm like, yeah, so I make plenty of money at my job. So this is now just fun for me. That's one reason why I got out of it. I turned a hobby into a job, and I was pedaling Hot Wheels 24 hours a day. I was staying up till the wee hours of the morning because all my customers were overseas, and I was catering to their needs. And, overseas to them is early in the morning. Late at night is 4 o'clock in the morning for me, but it's early for them. And finally, at one point, I was just like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. So that's when I found her, and I got married, and then I had to go get a real job after 25 years of not having. So Nextel phones, you remember the Nextels with the 2-way?
Yep.
Okay. I started Nextel in Toledo, Ohio when it very first started, and that was my last real job until I got into the car industry 4 years ago.
Dang.
So, jumping back into the real world and working for somebody after 25 years, it was a shocker, man. I thought, man, somebody's going to tell me to wash the toilets. I'm going to tell them to get bent and walk out. I'm like, this not going to happen. But I mean, that never happened. I got in the car world and I did very well in it. But I retired. I retired in December of 2021. I wasn't planning on working anymore, but I'm working in the HVAC world again. And actually, there's a commercial that just came out today. As I was sitting here, multiple people said, I saw you on TV today. And I'm like, oh, geez. So I did a commercial for our freaking company. And now I'm back on TV again. So here we go.
It happens. I worked for United Rentals for 5 years in Gilbert, Arizona. And that was the biggest branch on the West Coast. That was like the main hub. And corporate was there, the whole works. So we knew they were coming, and eventually they did. But they brought the IndyCar in and filmed a commercial in my bay, and I got to work on it. I felt bad. Like they're like, grab some big ratchet, and I was like, this isn't even where you would use this. So it looked like I was trying to take some carbon fiber.
Trying to take a seat off with a crescent wrench. You're like, what are you doing? I'm just adjusting the seat.
Huge snap-on ratchet, and then I bumped the carbon fiber and was like, oh, like, don't break it. I was freaking out.
That's awesome.
It ended up just being an internal commercial. They never even released it. They spent like 2 days making it.
Yeah, it's crazy how much time they spend to make. I mean, my commercial that I'm in is like, I don't know, 20 seconds, 25 seconds long, and we spent hours shooting different face, different angle, up, down, the lighting. I'm just like, wow, we're doing all this, but this commercial is going to be 3 hours long. And then I see it, and I'm like, it was 20 seconds. Awesome. Most of that didn't even make it in it. It's like, okay, so that's how that works. So, but yeah, that's pretty much my life story, man. That's my backstory. Vintage everything. I mean, we called our shop the Vintage Drop Shop because we didn't want to be a brick and mortar store to be stuck someplace. So what we did is truck and trailer. We do geolocations, post up coordinates where we're going to be, drop our truck and trailer, throw out our tarp, and we'd sell stuff right out the back of the trailer. So that's where the drop shop came from. And then we do vintage clothing, but we also wanted to do new kicks because I got back into Jordans and I got back into Yeezys, and I'm in all the sneaker drops and all that crap. And I've just now realized at 40 some years old, I'm not meant to wear a bunch of old Jordans anymore. It's not comfortable anymore. I keep peddling these 1970 moon boots to everybody in my stream. And sooner or later, somebody's going to buy them. But I mean, the joke of my stream is show the boots. And I'm like, I found these at a store, and I sold the blue ones I had, but these are khaki, blue, reds, and oranges. And yeah, that's my ongoing joke. So
I got a snowsuit hanging over here that would go pretty good with it. Not full matching color, but it's an old Sears and Roebuck snowsuit.
Dude. Yeah, that, I mean, believe it or not,
make something happen.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, that stuff sells. People love that old vintage. I mean, I know I have a girl that really wants to buy these to wear these as boots, and I said, my kids have had them on. They're 1974. They're comfy, but they're 1974 boots. And that's literally when you say moon boot, that is literally that is a moon boot. That's where the name moon boots come from. And you think Yeezy makes these ridiculous boots this day and age? This would have been a Yeezy boot back in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah,
100%. So yeah, it's funny how the styling has all made a full circle and it's come back. It's like, I can't believe you guys are wearing that stuff. I used to wear that. Now I used to laugh at people. Now you guys are loving wearing it. It's just like,
and it's crazy. And they like the cheap brand stuff too. I'm trying to think, was it like a Champion or whatever?
Oh yeah, Champion's back. It's huge.
And
that used to be a Walmart brand.
Yeah, Kmart, stuff like that. And it's like, that's the stuff I had to wear, and everybody laughed at me for it. And now you guys want it?
Yeah, Champion's they've come out with a complete new line. So the old Champion tags used to be embroidered tags. That's how you'd always know they were old.
Yeah.
And now they've come out with a complete new line. It's basically, it's not an embroidered, but it's kind of like a screen printed to make it look like it's embroidered. So it looks like the old tag, but it's not. And they do all the old designs on the shirt, but it's not. So these people that find all these, thrift stores are like, oh, it's old, it's vintage. I'm like, it's not, because when you flip the tag up and it says .com, they didn't have .com in the 90s, 80s. They didn't have that. So, the world has gone vintage styling, but to the true vintage people, you really got to know what you're looking for, because you can buy something and think you've just struck gold. And it's like, yeah, it just came out of Hot Topic last week. And you're like, what? It looks so old, but it's not. So that's why the younger generation, they get all caught up in it.
Haven't seen it, but I've heard that they even do like fake single stitch.
Oh,
I haven't seen it yet, but I know I will. I remember when I started like reselling stuff. Back then, it was, you would get it and you check it out and you'd be like, oh, it looks old. No barcode. It's old. And now it's like, this is old. It's got a barcode. This is 94.
Yeah. Yeah. The time. Yeah. You have to start thinking about now. It's 25 years old is considered vintage now. Is it 20 or 25?
I think 25. I think
25. So yeah, I mean that puts back into perspective. That's barcoded stuff.
Yep.
And that's the scary part. So you're like, now I really got to start looking at stuff a little bit closer.
It's colors when it comes to stuff like this. That's what made me grab this, was just the color of the background.
Right.
And I was like, I bet that's old. Old, if that's what you want to call it. But yeah, that's the kind of thing where it's certain colors I've noticed on toys, especially when you're like, I think that's old. They don't make those colors anymore.
Right. Right. That's exactly right.
And somewhere I've got sitting, I'll show it to you another time. I think it's in one of the sheds. I was cleaning the shed out, and on the ground, I found a pink wagon, Redline.
Nice.
A Nomad, just laying on the ground in one of my sheds. So it fell out of a box somewhere, and who knows where I found that thing at, or how many decades I've had it. But I was like, oh, I gotta get this thing listed, and then I think it's still out there.
That's you wonder this. I got into BMX bikes. They're restoring old 80s and 90s BMX bikes, and I got into it heavy because I wanted a Haro Master when I was a kid, and my bike shop had one, the blue and green Haro Master, fully loaded, and he built it for his son, and his son never rode the damn thing. It sat on a hook in the bike shop, so every day you'd walk in, you'd stare at it, like where my sign is, there'd be this blue and green bike, and I'd walk in and go, you want to sell that? And he's like, nope, it's my son's, and he's never going to sell it. He's going to drive it. And I was like, that son of a bitch never going to drive that bike ever. He doesn't even want to freaking walk, let alone ride a bike. And he never did. Bike shop closed. And, you get older, and then you start making money, and then you start getting the toys like the 6-foot G.I. Joe aircraft carrier. I wanted that bad, never got it. And I thought, I'm going to buy one. Then I realized 6 foot's a lot of room to take up in a house, and I don't need a 6-foot toy.
Yeah.
Cool. But I got into bikes because I'm like, I wanted that blue and green Haro. So then I started buying up a lot of bike stuff. And then I got heavy into it. I'm on the Bmx Museum. I had 65 bikes here at one point, all restored, original NOS parts, Schwinn's, Haros. I mean, I had bikes hanging from the ceiling down the hallway, mags as far as you could see. My wife was like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. I said, I got in too deep. She's like, that's the problem with you. You get into a hobby and then you get obsessed with it, and then it takes over part of our house. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. And so my buddy, who's huge into bikes, he's my age, I got rid of every single bike part I had for his football and baseball card collection, which took up a lot less room. And I got, a couple Brady rookies. They're all being sent out to PSA. We're getting graded. I mean, some old Roger Maris, some old Lou Alcindors. And I mean, I'd gotten into cards and really wasn't into bikes, kind of got out of the bike world because it's just too much to do. And once I got my real job back again, I didn't have the time. So I ran my own shop, my own business. I was here 24 hours a day. I could work on this stuff. I could go picking all day long. When you get a real job, that crap goes away.
Yeah.
And so when you come home at night, you're not like, oh, I got to go to the garage and go fiddle with stuff for 4 hours. You're like, oh, my kids take up my time. And then I want to eat. I put them to bed. And then you got to spend some time with the wife. And then you got to go to sleep and do it all over again. I'm like, man, I really missed out on, realizing how much that time was worth money, how valuable it was. So then I got on ball cards because it took up a lot less room. Sold every one of my bike parts. Got rid of them all. Still wish I had them still now. But, that's the thing. You get into a hobby and it just freaking takes over. And you start realizing, I have no room in the back garage now because this crap's everywhere. And that's the way it is for the Hot Wheels. I mean, if you would have seen this place before I met my wife and seen how many Hot Wheels I had, dude, it was disgusting. I mean, every nook and cranny, every closet, every room had totes around the outsides of them stacked to the ceiling. I mean, it was ridiculous. And I look back at it now and go, why? Why did I have so many? But I made so much money on it that, it was a business. Then it turned it into not fun anymore. And then I got out of it.
Yep.
And now I'm back doing it for fun. So when these guys give me crap, I can't believe he starts everything for $1. That's just stupid. I make so much money over here doing this. And I go, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. It's fun for me. I don't care. I don't have any money in these things now. They're just one sitting back in my warehouse. I'll start them for $1. I'll give the next generation the opportunity to have something cool for a cheap price. So they don't have to go to those other sites and pay those top dollar prices to get a car they really want. And I always tell people too, hey man, I hope you make enough money on this that you can turn around and burn it and make some money, because everybody should make money going to the top. If I can help out in that process, so be it. I don't lose sleep at night going, I should have got that on a raffle and made 3 times the amount of money. I've done all that. I've done the raffle game. I've done I've done all that. It's just not fun anymore. So the fun part is, I think the funnest part of this whole thing is giving crap away. I really do. Because, somebody like Seb, he won the big 500 follower giveaway. And I did the giveaway 3 times. The first time I said, you got to follow me on Instagram. The first guy that won was a new guy. It just popped in, didn't even have Instagram. He's like, well, I don't have Instagram. I was like, well, I said, chat, you decide. Are we rerunning this? And the chat was like, rerun it. Yep. Rules are rules. And I'm like, all right, cool. And then my best man won it the second time, Felix, who lives here. And everybody's like, oh, congratulations. And I just got this hoverboard.
That's awesome.
From Back to the Future. That day, I just had gotten out of the box and I was sitting there and Felix goes, hey man, what's up with that hoverboard? I'm like, no, we're not doing that. Because I already had an 86 square body pickup truck, a real one. And he traded me his motorcycle for it. And now it's got a big LS motor in it. I just saw it fire up for the first time. It's got a fully notched frame, full suspension. I mean, the works. And I'm like, I got shafted in that deal. So he's like, well, what's up with that hoverboard? I'm like, no, you're not getting the hoverboard. He's like, well, I'll tell you what, you give me the hoverboard and you can go ahead and rerun that raffle again for the next people. I'm like, gosh dang it, dude. Really? So now this is his hoverboard. And I reran it for a 3rd time, and our 13-year-old Seb won the whole entire thing.
Dang.
And that kid deserves it, man. He deserves it. He's like all kinds of stuff he'll never get. There was a 124 scale Matchbox NASCAR that was given away to the China employees of the China plant. And it was number 100 out of however many they made. But you had to be an employee in 2000 to get this car, and a 13-year-old kid now owns it, which is cool. Because that's something that kid's never going to be able to find or get, especially for a decent price. You got it for free.
Yeah.
So,
like our son, we always get him Hot Wheels, and he won't open any of them. He doesn't. He goes, nope, I'm going to hold on to them like you did. So he had this took a shelf, flipped it upside down, and mounted it to the ceiling in his room. And it's packed full of Hot Wheels. And then his closet, the top is packed with cases of Hot Wheels. And nope, he doesn't want to open any of them at all.
So like I bought 2 of each. I bought 2 of each.
I've heard those stories. Yep, buy 2 of each, one to open, play with, one to put away. But no,
Still got them all.
he doesn't open, and the ones that we get them aren't even like from Walmart or Kmart or whatever. Kmart's not even around anymore. I don't even know why I say that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Target, Walmart. No, we'll go and find him older ones, and he won't open them. They just get put away. For him to play with Hot Wheels, I've got to like yard sale some. Be like, dude, here's some used ones. Have at it. They're already open. You can't say no.
They've already been open. They've already
Yep.
been pre-played with, so you don't have to worry about it. I mean, I always bought 2. I mean, and I still have my original Hot Wheels I played with when I was a kid, and I never chipped them up. I mean, I still have all the steering rigs. I mean, they're all in great shape. And then I have one carded version of each one of my ones that I played with, and I actually have my carded version in a protector pack with my actual card that I played with in the protector pack as well. So
Nice.
my protector pack has the carded and the played with version. But I just was very anal about taking care of my Hot Wheels because I was addicted with cars from a very young age. I mean, I would sit in the back of our van on trips, and I would name semi trucks coming down the road because I'm obsessed with semis. And my semi truck collection that I have in that back warehouse is just disgusting. How much semi crap I've got. I mean, it's dumb that I've got this much. But my mom said my very first word I ever said was Marmon. And Marmon was a type of semi-truck that went out of business in 1987. And it used to have a big square in the middle of the grill and a big chrome M. And I always thought that M was my name because my name is Mark. And I'm like, Mark, Marmon. I could always say it. My mom was like, your first word was a semi-truck. I'm like, yeah. Isn't that awesome? And she's like, that's crazy. You know, and I could name Peterbilts and Kenworths and Internationals and, you know, Diamond Rios coming down the road. I would just sit there and name every truck going on a road trip. And before my parents were like, that's enough. We've heard enough. We know every semi that's coming out. We got it. We understand that. And I was obsessed with toy cars ever since I was young. And that's probably why I got into the car industry. And I surrounded myself with cars and I built cars. I mean, you know, I ran a shop for 25 years. I was very successful. And I never went to school one time to pick a wrench up or read a book. I never read a book. I built my own cars and I blew them up. And when it blew up, I took it apart and figured out what broke and then put it back together again until it broke again, until finally I built a car that never broke. And at that point, I thought, well, maybe I kind of know what I'm doing. And that's when I started building other people's cars. And then, you know, I got specific into the Nissan world and I was building motors that you couldn't get parts for. And then the colleges were actually bringing their performance class out to my shop each year, 3 times a year. And they'd bring 35, 40 kids and go, you know, these kids want to be in the same field you're in. They want to be in the performance field. You know, what would you tell them to do if I were you? And I said, well, I would look at the professor and say, you know, every time I tell you this answer, you hate it. I don't know why you keep asking us, but I'll tell you this. If you want to do what I'm doing right now, quit your school and come work for me for a year and you don't get paid because you're going to ghost me for a year so I can make sure that you absolutely know what you're doing. Because if you want to get in this field, you already have a dad that's been building cars for years. You already know what a 10 millimeter is. You're not a kid that's just going to school for a piece of paper. The rest of you will work at a dealership where you can drop a car off a lift and you'll still have a job. But the other kids that are in the performance world that are really based to be in the performance world, you've already experienced the knowledge of cars. But the unfortunate side is if you work for me and you're too much of an ego to ask me for torque specs on one of our $30,000 RB26 motors we build and you break something, you don't even get the chance to quit. I said, I'll scoop you up out of your house and you'll work for me until it's paid for because you can't just run down to AutoZone and grab a bolt for a freaking 94 RB26, RB25, RB20. Doesn't exist. They're not here yet. This was before, you know, the 15-year law for the cars to be able to come over. There was, I mean, all of our Skylines were here gray market. So my cars all came over in 2 containers. One had the frame and the other container had every single part. Motor, trans, doors, seats, steering wheel, I mean, everything. So it literally came over in scrap and we had to reassemble our cars. That's how it was back in the day. Now you can import them and they come in fully built. But, you know, I told the kids, I said, you'll work for me before, you know, a year before I'm going to let you go free and say, okay, I think I can trust you. And I ended up getting 3 good employees. I had one kid, Mikey, still one of my best guys I've ever had. He was young. He was 16, came to my shop, and he goes, man, I want to do this. I want to do this when I grow up because I love SR20s. I said, do you? And his brother was our tenor, Rod. And I said, Rod, you tell Mikey when he graduates school, if he goes and gets a degree, 2 years, all he has to do is go through mechanical school for 2 years. The minute he graduates that day, he has a job. And that kid showed up on my doorstep that day after he graduated. And he was like, wow. I'm here. I graduated. Do I have a job? And here's my resume. And I took his resume and I ripped it up and I said, did you already have a job? You already know you have a job. And that kid stuck with me all the way until the end, until I closed my shop. And now he's an F-16 or F-18 mechanic in the Navy. No, he's in the Air Force out in Utah. Still dicking with high performance stuff, you know? So, it's a cool world. I mean, cars have been, I'm truly a car guy, true in and true out, where I think about cars 24 hours a day. I dream about cars. I think about, every time when I'm driving a car, I look at a stoplight and think, how can I get to the front of the pack so I'm the first car at that stoplight, because I want to beat everybody else. And I mean, my goal is, if I can't get up there first, I judge the cars and which one I think will be faster to get off the line that I could get around to then make it to that first spot. And that is an every minute occurrence when I'm driving. And I can't turn it off. My wife's like, why can't you not just drive and not worry about zigzagging? I'm like, I can't. It's my DNA. It's in my brain. I can't stop this. It's not like a light switch. I can't turn it off. But, you hear a car with an exhaust and you're like,
yep.
And she's like, what are you looking for? I'm like, you didn't hear that? And she's like, no, I didn't hear what? I'm like, never mind.
The squirrel. That's what it is.
It's a Mustang with a set of, squirrels. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Plus I have ADHD. Everybody knows that bad. I've had it since I was a very young kid. I mean, I've been on Adderall and I've been on, Vyvanse to try to contain it. But when I'm off of it, it's worthless. You can tell me something 5 minutes later, I'm off doing something else. And I'm like, I know I was in here doing something, but I don't remember what it was. My wife will be like, back up, retrace your steps. I'm like, well, I came in here and I had some, I had this in I know what it was. I look down at my hand and I'll have a jar of peanut butter. I'm like, I was making a sandwich. Totally forgot what I was doing.
I do the same thing. The only thing that I'm good for is, let's say I set this yo-yo down right there under the monitor, and 3 years from now I go, where did I put that yo-yo? It's under the monitor. I can come back and go, there it is. Now if somebody moves it an inch over, it's lost.
Screwed.
It's gone. It's in the same spot. It's just an inch over. I lost it. Yep.
That's the same way. My wife said the same thing. She said, every tote that I have in my warehouse, every car that's in every tote in every location, all 3 shelves, that entire warehouse, I can tell you where any single car is in those totes. And I remember putting them in there. And I mean, my catalog system in my brain is amazing. And my wife says, I've never seen somebody that can memorize data like you memorize it. And you can literally tell somebody, well, that car, if it has 7-spoke golds, that's from blah, 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 and it's worth X amount of dollars. That variation, she goes, I don't have that capability to be able to remember the stuff that you do. And for you to know where every car is in this back room, she says, that's pretty crazy. And I'm like, it's probably that, or it's the ADD. It's the one thing that keeps my brain kind of together, is trying to think of that, or how to build a motor. Like, that's what keeps my attention. If I'm really into something, building a motor or whatever, and I don't hear any surrounding sounds around me, I'm okay. Once I'm obsessed with doing that, then nothing can pull my attention from it. But if it's, something that kind of catches my attention, literally a squirrel has to run by and I'm like, oh, what's going on over there? And then away I go. I've totally forgot what I'm doing. Yeah. So
I know I went on there and was like, hey, you got any rampages? And you're like, I got the one for you. There it was. Like, what? So yeah.
Yep. It's crazy. I know where all the rest of the rampages are in the house too. I actually just went back in the tote the other day just to look to make sure I still knew where a couple other ones were. I'm like, yep, they're right there, right where I freaking left them. So one of them's down here buried underneath the bottom of this box. It's underneath this table. So I'll get more to you as soon as I can pull them out. Hopefully they make some more colors for now that they made the new casting for it. You know, everything's molded.
I hope, because that's the original casting. That's the original color. And that was it. They made the purple one that I've got, the black one, and the orange one, orange or red. I don't remember the newer one, the new casting.
Right.
And then there was like a couple other ones in there too that were like blue or a different color of purple. I didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
So.
And the goal for the old Rail Riders is to get the white hubs and the gray hubs. There's 2 variations always, both colors. So I know they made a promo one. They made a promo one back in 80. Oh, let's see. They made a baggy promo version of that. And they also made it in a 3-pack. There was a 3-pack of them that had a Rampage, and it had like a 3-pack variation color on it, or a different striping on it. That part, I mean, that I'm still kind of fuzzy on that, but I do remember it was like in a 3-pack, or it was in a 2-pack, or something like that. And it was a rare color to find. And I think they also made a France version of it. And the France version is going to be stupid money. I mean, any car that was made in the France times that has France stamped on a base, I mean, you figure it's at least $100, $200, $300 car if you can find one. So,
hey, we got Anna's Adventures. How's it going? And Harry Homestone hopped in. What's going on, man?
What's up, Harry? How you doing?
We're having some Hot Wheel talk. I actually bought, I don't even know what it is, some little rail car. It had fat tires in the back and real skinnies in the front. And since the Rampage is front wheel drive, and I have an extra of the new style red one, I was going to drill it out and put the skinnies in the back and the fat ones in the front and put it back together and set it up there. And I just
drag Rampage. Heck yeah, dude.
Yeah. And then I got to find a car with a like 446 pack hood scoop on it where I can cut it out and epoxy it on and repaint it, and it'll look just like mine.
you know what you need to do is you need to get a Colt, or you need to get a Dodge. What was the Dodge? It wasn't the Cobalt. No, it's not, definitely not a Cobalt. The Dodge SRT.
The Neon, or the
other one that had the SRT motor. It wasn't the Neon. It was an SUV, small SUV looking thing.
I owned one of those for a little while. It was honestly pretty ridiculous for being stock. That thing was pretty ridiculous. It was no, Cobalt was Chevy. Man, what was the name of that thing? They'd make them up for a couple of years.
I know. A Caliber.
That was
Dodge Caliber. So they made a Dodge Caliber in an all-wheel drive. You need to get the all-wheel drive set up, put that underneath a Rampage, and then do an SRT 4 power plant in it and make it like a Subaru Brat all-wheel drive Rampage.
I actually was building one before I moved out here. I used the all-wheel drive setup out of a Caravan.
There you go.
And it was V6 powered, and it was turbo, and I had everything mounted in except the rear end. The transfer case was in, the whole works. I didn't have the rear end done, and I moved out here, and I had the rollback come and pick it up, and I'm sure it got turned into Hondas somewhere.
Oh man, dude.
I know.
Doggone it.
It would have been so cool.
Yeah, definitely. That would be like the one you want to like lift just a little bit, put a little bit of knobby tires on it, and just freaking go out and let it eat.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not going to cage it. Nothing. I'm just going to leave it the way it is and see if we can get 500 or 600 horse out of this 3-liter.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Definitely. Yeah. All right, man. Well,
we've been
here for an hour and a half.
We're an hour and a half in, man. Tell them what you got. If you got one coming up that you want to plug.
I don't have anything coming up this upcoming weekend. We're still going to take a break. I think I'm going to take the family on a vacation. And then after that, we're usually going to do Friday night diecast stuff, or we'll do Saturday nights to Saturday afternoons for t-shirts. I'll probably end up I'll post on Instagram when we're going to start doing the vinyl auctions, because I got a bunch of vinyl now I'm going to sell. But like cards, and coffee, that's a Sunday thing. Wake up in the morning, drink some coffee, and rip some vintage cards. So I bought a lot of vintage wax. So that's kind of what I'm going to focus on. I mean, the new stuff's cool. I mean, it's cool, but you're not going to find anything that's worth grading, and you're not going to get anything cool out of retail stuff. It's all got to be hobby. And if you're buying a hobby box, you're paying $1,000 for a box. And I love the new basketball players. Don't get me wrong, but I'd rather rip the old vintage wax that was around when I was growing up, because I realized I know all those players and these new players, baseball. I don't know who these people are. I mean, I really don't. So it's cool to open up a pack and, sell packs of cards that are $3, $4, $5 instead of $200, $300 for a pack. And you don't know what you're going to get at $3 or $4. Everybody can play. That's why my other screen name is Shitty Card Breaks, and it's SH1TTY Card Breaks. And the motto is card breaks for the rest of us. So it all has to do with cheap card breaks. And, if you don't get a good pack, you're like, oh, that's shitty. And that's been the motto. So we have, some merch being made for sayings and statements and stuff like that. But, it's cheap. And the older generation still loves to rip the old wax because, just like I said, we're older now. And now we can afford the stuff that we couldn't afford when we were kids. Yep. So you might not have been able to get a Derek Jeter rookie back when you were a kid, but you can now. Or you have the chance of winning one out of a $5 pack. So everybody enjoys that.
Oh, yeah.
You don't make much money doing it, but then again, I don't do it for the money anymore. I do it for the fun and joy. So, but I'll post everything on our Instagram, and I'll tag everybody, let everybody know. But whatnot in the near future, it's going to get bigger and better, and we'll still be peddling a lot of diecast on there too. So eventually we'll stream from Whatnot and stream on Instagram at the same time, and even maybe just YouTube, because this is the first time I've done this on YouTube, and I'm not gonna lie to you, pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll help you with it. I'll show you. I'll send you a link for one of my videos. You can see how I got it set up, and
definitely
it's pretty neat.
I mean, like this, I'm big on lighting and camera equipment. So you see my lights. I have all the big lights. I mean, I've got a huge lighting setup because I'm very anal about having very detailed pictures of stuff that I sell. So lighting, I got into, early in the picture boxes, and so very high definition lighting is very important to me. So I've got the setup to do it, but so it's that time too. I don't really have time to sit down. Like this hour and a half, my kids are sitting back. They're about ready to go to bed. Mom's been reading a book, and I know they're just like, "Where's Dad? He's not, an hour."
Where'd he go? This ain't normal.
Doors locked. They can't get in. My dogs can't get in. I got two things holding the door shut, so they didn't come bombarding in while we're doing this. And I'm just like, guys, please give me an hour to get through this. I know you guys want to be on front of the camera, but not tonight. Yep. Not tonight. Yep. So, well, thank you for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. We're gonna end it. Everybody, thank you for coming by. We'll see you next week with Outcountry Sales. We'll see you there.
All right, guys. Thanks, man.